Each architect has its own way of understanding architecture. No? For example, for someone like Mies van der Rohe, architecture is the wheel of an epoch translated into space. And for someone like Francis Kere, which I believe you know, is a very well-known African architecture. Architecture is to get your hands dirty and motivate others to get involved. In both definitions, you can see it's a personal understanding of architecture. What is architecture for us? People, for me, people working with me. Architecture is the opportunity that we have to participate in the development of our world. So as architects, we have this opportunity to work and leave our footprint in the development of our world. And our world here is East Africa. Okay, we all like development. We all look forward to development. But is there only one way? I mean, is there only one direction of development, or are they various directions? We are participating in the development, and that we, with our work, influence that development in certain direction. Some parts of the world, I mean, the development can be driven either by the private sector or the public sector, normally both. In this region, again, East Africa, the private sector, I believe, has much more strength and power to direct the development than the public sector. We work in an environment with quite lax regulations. And as an architect, in a way, it's very good because it gives us a lot of freedom to do what we want, but at the same time, it gives us responsibility for what we do. We have to think which are the consequences of our actions as architects. Once you start working, you'll see that developers, clients will come to you, and then when you first engage in talks with the client about how, what they want to do, and I normally ask them, I mean, what are your goals? I mean, what do you intend to do by developing this piece of land that is yours? And if the only goal that developer has is to make as much as profit as possible, if the only goal and the only reason behind that development is like generating economic wealth alone, then to me it's not an interesting project. It's not an interesting client, and I try to refuse them. So how do we in Urko Sanchez approach development? Talking about three major tenets: identity, adaptation, and commitment. So identity, for example, identity is a person's conception and expression of their own, according to the British dictionary. So the first case study is Vipingo Ridge Clubhouse. Vipingo Ridge Clubhouse, the client They came, they wanted to build the clubhouse, which was the most representative building of the development. It was going to express the main values of their company, which was starting. And it was not only the most important building in their whole development, it was also situated at the top of the development. And it was also in the middle of the whole development. They have chosen the plot like in the middle, at the highest point, in a place where everybody would see it from almost anywhere else. But it's really like very important for them. No? So I said, okay, let's look at primary shapes. Primary shapes like the circle and the square. The circle, neither beginning nor end, is the sign of eternity, perfection, uniformity, and no division. These are values that I believe a company that is starting with a development like this, they would like to try to express. Perfection, uniformity, no division, eternity, will give confidence to investors. Now the square in itself, it's a sign of order, stability, balance, symmetry, harmony. Again, concepts that the company as their values, they would like to be related with. And I've put there some pictures of different buildings or structures that I have used, either the circle or the square, to actually express these values. In this case, they're related with God, with the different gods. Okay, this of course was not a religious building, but being, as I said, the most important, the most characteristic, and being the center and everything, it was the closest you can get in a commercial building. So we came with this floor plan where we introduced all the program. The result is this that you can see, where we played with these original basic forms, but at the same time we introduced basic elements of the Swahili architecture, coastal architecture, that I knew very well because I had been living in the coast for many years. So concepts like the entrance door, concepts of the inside materials used, combined with those shapes that we had came out with originally, gave us this building that actually it worked quite well. And still, I mean, this building has already, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years, right? The management of Ipin Goreche have used it a lot in all their marketing, because it really expresses the values that they wanted to communicate to their customers. Construction process, as much, okay, on one side we have the standard materials that you find everywhere, steel, cement, sand. But in the case like the coast, or wherever you build actually, it's good if you try to actually introduce or work with local materials, because that also helps to provide that sense of identity that I was talking about. In this case, we use that red soil to actually mix it with the plasters on the finishings, to actually blend the building and incorporate like something like the color into the building, the color of the soil. I said like principles that we try to bring into our projects. First one was identity. Try to buildings to belong to the place where they are. Second one said adaptation, or the action or process of being adapted. We believe the buildings, they need to adapt to the environment, to the plot. The buildings, they need to adapt to the times, to the people that they are going to use them. So this is Swahili Gem Apartments. It's a project under construction currently. It adapts to the terrain. Adapts to the terrain with different terraces. Level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the level of the floor of the entrance of the road. And these are three apartments and the common areas. And then from here we raise this building, which is 5 stories, with the peculiarity, let's say, of the skin. That skin that actually involves the building. We have here a night view of it. So this skin is there because we wanted to protect the inside of the building from those 3 sides. The north and the south from potential future developments, and the west, which is this side, from the sun and the heat. So we came up with this musharabia that has open places and closed, right? It gives a nice view. It gives an interesting aesthetics to the building. But again, it's not only aesthetics. It has this meaning of protection, and it's also structural. So you can see here how that intends to protect from the sun on the west, and in the early sun in the morning we have these cantilevered balconies that also protect the inside from heat. And also this has total cross ventilation, which is essential for this kind of weather. Here some of course those terraces, we had to use a lot of steel to actually work those retaining walls. And here I have pictures of a mock-up that we did, but on scale 1:1, to actually find out whether it was possible to build that structure. These are views now from the first floor and from the ground level. Again, we like to use steel, coral, timber, stucco if possible. Ventilation, cross ventilation, essential. And hopefully one day this will look like this. And probably someone will build here, and someone will build here, and someone will build there. That's how will things happen. So this is a sample of, as I said, adaptability, how the building can adapt. The third pillar is about commitment. And commitment being the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, etc. In this case, as architects, the way we see, we are committed definitely to society, to nature, and to our clients as well. But again, if I take you back to that development idea, or where do we want to develop towards? Where do we want to be in the future? We need to make actions today to actually go into the direction that we feel is the appropriate, right? And in this case, we do believe that we also have to dedicate some of our time, effort, and knowledge to assist others who are not as lucky as we are, because we are all here well, very lucky and privileged. So we like to work to have projects in our office that are socially related. And this is a project on Djibouti. Djibouti, as you may know, is one of the hottest places on earth. I mean, I think in Djibouti they have recorded the highest temperature on earth ever. It's terribly arid, very, very arid. It's very small, and the people living in this side of was in Tajura, which is a small village. They are the Afar people, which actually they come from nomadic background. They are nomads. They travel with the camels in search of past and water for their animals. So they carry their structures with them when they move. But let's create houses. We said, okay, with 2 or 3 open spaces. So we break the relationship. I mean the boundaries between the inside and the outside. So we don't put doors, except maybe, I mean, at the bedrooms for more privacy. So the kitchen and the living room, they are connected through this courtyard. And in this courtyard, they can actually play football, or they can light a fire, or they can sleep outdoors. I mean, they can do activities which they don't have to be done on an indoors environment. And because it never rains, I mean, there is not much problem. We have to take care of the sun. And okay, there are sandstorms from time to time. So those sandstorms, I mean, will have an impact. We'll see how that works. And then thirdly, let's introduce vegetation, because here in Tajura, these guys, they had the only natural source of source of natural water of Djibouti, just close by. So they had like good fresh water. I mean, quite available. So let's have let's plant trees in their houses. Let them care about the nature. Let them live with it, and also let them benefit from it later, either by the shade, either by the fruits. There was one tree in the plot. We, of course, made the design considering that tree. We also work on providing solar energy for certain aspects. And you can see down there is a study on the sun radiation, how we work in terms of floor plan. This is the floor plan. It might look very complicated, but of course, to actually build it, it had to have some kind of rational behind it. So even though that it looks very disordered and whatever, there are basically, I think, 1 or 2 typologies of houses that are placed in different ways, but they are basically all the living rooms and all the bedrooms. I mean, they are pretty much the same. So it is a system to allow or to assist the construction process. In Djibouti, basically, there are very few materials available. We went around Djibouti, tried to look for artisans, see what they do, what they don't do, but it's extremely limited. Most of the material is imported. We worked well as construction material pretty much what is here. The result you can see is this. I think it's also interesting. It will be very interesting to see how these people because they have just recently, I think out of the 15 houses, 7 are occupied. So let's see how people, they make those houses. I mean, how they live in those houses, how they change the houses. They'll have to add certain things. It will be interesting to see. Just 2 remarks. We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. From Winston Churchill. And when we build, let us think that we build forever. From Jordan Ruskin. Thank you very much. This has been.